Europe is on fire, and it is coming. More than 10,400 people are dead. Not from war, not from disease, from heat, from air that became so hot for so long that human bodies simply stopped being able to survive it. And the heat dome responsible for all of it is not weakening. It's strengthening. It is expanding. And the worst of it has not arrived yet. This is not a forecast for next month. This is what is happening right now, today, across a continent of 500 million people. And what models are showing for the days ahead is worse than anything Europe has already been through. Let's start with what has already happened, because the numbers are staggering. 3 separate heat waves have hit Europe back-to-back, beginning in late spring and accelerating through summer. The first broke monthly records across Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, Spain, and the United Kingdom. The second, more severe wave peaked in late June, when Spain recorded the highest temperature measured anywhere in Europe during this event, 113 degrees Fahrenheit in a city that had never seen anything close to that number before. France hit 111.7 degrees in the southwest, its hottest day since 1947. Paris itself exceeded 101 degrees. A third wave followed immediately after, extending heat alerts through mid-July across the British Isles. The World Meteorological Organization confirmed that Western Europe just had its hottest June on record, with temperatures running 2 full degrees Celsius above the already elevated average for that month. And the death toll is not from a single event. It is the accumulated result of weeks of heat that never let up, nights that never cooled down, and a continent that was never built to survive this. Germany has been the hardest hit. Approximately 5,120 excess deaths, people who would not have died when they did if the heat had not come, confirmed in Germany alone. France lost more than 2,000. Belgium lost nearly 1,750, with its excess mortality rate climbing to 48% above normal during the peak weeks. The Belgian Health Authority described it as the deadliest heat wave the country has seen in 30 years. Spain, the Netherlands, and every country in between are still counting. More than 10,400 people confirmed dead across the continent. And the heat dome is still there. Here is what most coverage of this event is missing entirely. The heat that has already killed over 10,000 people is not the full story. It is the first chapter. The weather models tracking the ridge of high pressure locked over Western Europe show no significant weakening for at least another week. The soil across France, Spain, Portugal, and the UK is described by meteorologists as exceptionally dry, drier than at any comparable point in recent memory, after months of heat and almost no rainfall. That means 2 things. First, there is no moisture in the ground to absorb heat through evaporation, which is one of the natural buffers that normally keeps surface temperatures from climbing as high as they would otherwise. Second, the vegetation is primed to burn. And it is burning. Wildfires have broken out across southern Europe in the wake of the heat waves. 500 firefighters are battling a blaze near Fontainebleau, 40 miles south of Paris. A fire in the greater Paris region, something that emergency services describe as rare on that scale. The fire has already consumed 8 square kilometers of forest and is still not contained. A wildfire in southeastern Spain killed at least 12 people and left 23 missing. In the French Pyrenees, an area equal to roughly 6,500 football pitches has been scorched. Tens of thousands of people have been evacuated from towns near the Spanish border. Fires are burning simultaneously in Portugal, Greece, France, and Spain. This is what happens to a continent that has been baked for weeks with almost no rain. The ground becomes tinder. A single spark, a discarded cigarette, an improperly extinguished barbecue, and entire forests go within hours. And the heat is not finished. The forecast for the coming days shows the heat dome strengthening and expanding northward and eastward. Temperatures are projected to rise 12 to 16 degrees Celsius above normal across France, pushing into Germany, Italy, the Alpine region, and further east toward Eastern Europe and Baltic states. Multi-day stretches of 35 to 40 degrees Celsius are expected across large parts of the continent. Locally, temperatures could push into the low 40s, the same range that produced most of the deaths already counted. Barcelona just set its highest temperature on record. Sweden, a country that most people associate with cool Nordic summers, issued orange heat warnings as temperatures exceeded 30 degrees for the first time in areas that had never measured that number before. A freight train derailed in Sweden because the heat warped the tracks. Not a structural failure. Not metal fatigue. The rails bent because the air around them was too hot. In the United Kingdom, forecasters recorded the 8th day above 34 degrees Celsius in a single calendar year, a new record for the most days above that threshold ever counted. The English Channel and the southern North Sea are experiencing extreme marine heat waves as a direct consequence of the sustained heat above them, with scientists warning of potentially severe impacts on marine life throughout the region. And the infrastructure failures are not limited to train tracks. When a heat dome of this scale parks over a continent for weeks, it doesn't just kill people. It breaks things. Roads buckle as the asphalt softens and expands beyond what it was engineered to handle. Power grids strain as millions of air conditioning units that Europeans are now rushing to buy run simultaneously for the first time. putting electricity demand toward records in countries whose grids were designed for mild summers. Water systems come under pressure as rivers run low from evaporation and increased demand. In Romania, Bucharest hit 44 degrees Celsius, a number that puts it in the same temperature range as the Sahara Desert on that day. In Bosnia, an unofficial temperature reading touched 50 degrees on asphalt. 50 degrees, the kind of heat that makes metal surfaces untouchable with bare hands, that can cook an egg on a sidewalk, that turns a car parked in the sun into a lethal chamber within minutes. These are not numbers from a distant climate projection. They are temperatures that were recorded on thermometers across Europe in the past several weeks, in cities where people live and work and go about their daily lives in buildings that were never designed to keep them safe in conditions like this. There is a second temperature that almost nobody talks about, and it is the one that actually decides whether a human body survives extreme heat. It is called the wet bulb temperature. Your body cools itself by sweating. Sweat only cools you when it evaporates. In dry heat, evaporation works efficiently. In humid heat, the air is already saturated with moisture and your sweat stops evaporating, which means your body's cooling system stops working entirely. When the wet bulb temperature climbs above a certain threshold, no amount of sweating keeps your core temperature from rising. Above that threshold, the heat is not just uncomfortable. It is physiologically unsurvivable even for a healthy adult, even in the shade, even with unlimited water to drink. The 2026 European heat waves have combined high air temperatures with elevated humidity in ways that pushed bulb temperatures in some regions into ranges previously considered theoretical for Europe. The French Riviera, the Po Valley in Italy, parts of Spain's Mediterranean coast. These are places where tourists go specifically because the climate is pleasant. This summer, they experienced combinations of heat and humidity that the human body cannot sustain indefinitely. And the people dying are not dying because they made bad decisions. They are dying because the air itself became something their bodies were not built to survive. Europe is not built for this. That is not an opinion. It is an infrastructure fact. Unlike the United States, where central air conditioning is standard in virtually every home, store, and office, large portions of Europe were constructed during centuries when summers were mild by design. Thick stone walls, small windows, and passive ventilation kept buildings cool in the kind of summer that Europe used to have. They do not work in a summer like this one. The air inside buildings can be as hot as the air outside, sometimes hotter, and it stays that way through the night. The nights are the thing that kills. When a heat wave is severe but the nights cool down, the human body gets a recovery window. Core temperature drops. Heart rate settles. The cardiovascular system gets a break. But under a strong heat dome, the nights don't cool. Temperatures in some European cities are staying above 25 degrees Celsius overnight, warm enough that a body that spent all day fighting the heat gets no recovery at all. It starts the next morning already elevated. After days of this, the people most vulnerable, the elderly, the very young, people with heart conditions, people living alone with no one to check on them, cross a threshold their bodies cannot recover from. This is why the death toll doesn't show up all at once. It accumulates quietly, in apartments and care homes and houses where someone didn't answer the phone, across days and weeks of heat that never fully released. And now the heat dome is expanding east. Countries in Central and Eastern Europe that have, until now, been on the edge of the event are about to move to its core. Temperatures in eastern Germany and western Poland are forecast to reach 42 to 43 degrees Celsius, numbers that would obliterate every temperature record those regions have ever measured. Slovakia, Hungary, northern Italy, the Balkans, Belarus, Ukraine, all of them are now in the path of the same air mass that has already killed 10,000 people to the west. The World Health Organization has told European governments they need to plan for heat the way they plan for winter flu. Warning systems, cooling centers, regular welfare checks on isolated elderly residents. Most European countries do not have these systems at the scale this event requires. The infrastructure can be built, the systems can be improved, but the decisions to build them have to be made before the next heat wave, not after it. The next one is already building. Scientists analyzing this event have been direct. The conditions producing this heat wave, a blocking pattern of high pressure over Western Europe trapping Saharan air against the continent for weeks at a time, are not only consistent with a warming climate, they are made dramatically more likely by it. World weather attribution researchers found that extreme heat on this level is now tens to hundreds of times more likely than it was in 2003. Not twice as likely, tens to hundreds of times more likely. A heat wave that